I'm allotting myself 1 hour at the Goodwill Bins. I'm heading there right now. I want to get there right at 9 o'clock when the door is open. All right, wish me luck. I ended up getting here right before 9 o'clock, and there was already a line out the door. And it was a mad rush, you guys, getting into the bins. So I grabbed my cart and I started digging. Now, this is one thing that I definitely need to get better at, showcasing me digging and finding items. But here's a little peek of my cart. I found a lot of great stuff for today's video. For project 1, I found this really cute galvanized container, and it opens up and there's like storage inside, and I thought, this is so cool. I love galvanized, but I always think that it needs a little something more. So for starters, I'm using White Swan from DIY Paint, and I am going to start with a base of white to really make my decoupage paper pop. And this is called Burlap Roses. It's from the new Roycycled release. And you guys, it is absolutely gorgeous. I grabbed my go-to decoupage medium called Liquid Patina. I used a starter strip, and then I broke out my mister bottle. I misted the paper to help alleviate all those wrinkles, and I started at the top and I worked my way down. And sometimes projects, you guys, do not need to be complicated. Just by adding a simple piece of decoupage paper to something, it completely changes the look and feel of your piece. So remember, you don't always have to go big. Sometimes simply adding something very minute can change the piece completely. For project 2, as I was digging through the bins, I found this, and it definitely caught my eye. It was a bit heavier than what I like, but I knew I could create something really cool with this. So I thought it was really neat. Like, I thought we could put some greenery in it. But first, we are going to add a bit of decoupage paper, and this is called Rustique, my friends. This was exclusive to my maker's box, but as of today, because I'm using it in the video, I will have it available on my website. I love Roycycled paper, and she makes 2 exclusive papers for my maker's box, and this was like a fall paper, and I think it's going to be absolutely stunning on the front of this. So first, I'm going to use White Swan, and I'm applying 1 even coat of White Swan to both the top of the I guess the little pocket, and then I'm going to put a little bit of White Swan inside that pocket, because I want my decoupage paper to go in there as well. I want it to really blend seamlessly, and I don't want the paper to go all the way in, just at the very beginning. While that's drying, I am going to pour some molds, and I am using this casting resin. It's the 10-minute casting resin. I am using this little silicone cup and 2 of the IOD molds that are from the new release. It's Blossom and Sparrow's Nest. It is very easy to use this 10-minute casting. You just mix part A and part B together, and it's a 50-50 ratio. I love using these silicone cups because it comes out at the end. If there's any leftover in there, it just peels right out and you can reuse. The key is you have only 10 minutes. So you want to mix part A and B together, stir until it turns clear, and start pouring. Now, I got a little nervous because I did not realize the intricate detail of the Blossom one. There's a lot of little nooks and crannies, and I probably should have done this in like half batches, maybe half of it for one mold and then mix up another batch for the second. As you're gonna see, I was rushing and there was a couple molds that I didn't even realize I didn't even fill up. So here is one, and it was okay though, you guys, because the nest, it has such beautiful detail, you can't even tell. So I also over poured, and as you can see, I'm taking an X-Acto knife here. And you want to do this when the molds first come out. It's much easier to do. Just X-Acto knife any excess. So now it's time to apply the decoupage paper. And this is so easy. Just cut it down to size, save all those scraps for another project. Use liquid patina or whatever decoupage medium that you love to use. This is my go-to. Apply a starter strip. This helps you hold your paper in place, mist it, and that activates the fibers in the paper to alleviate all the wrinkles, smooth it out, and work your way down. And then for the inside, I take this cardboard piece and I just actually draw a line to know where to cut so that I can slip that piece directly in there. And it fits like a glove, you guys. And then I did the exact same thing for this. Now I'm gonna let this all dry and we're gonna come back and we're gonna finish this project. Now I laid out the molds exactly where I want them, and I determined that I wanted the nest and some of the blossom stems on the bottom. I want to put one of the birds up here with more of the blossom stems. Now it's time to paint. I am using weathered wood from DIY Paint. I'm also using Petticoat Pink from DIY, and then a little bit of Kissing Booth, and then Old 57 for the eggs, and then the leaves I'm using Aviary, so all DIY paints. I have my misting bottle as well, so what I initially do here is I paint all the stems with the weathered wood. I come back and I paint all the blossoms with Petticoat Pink. Then I take a little bit of Kissing Booth and my misting bottle and I really water that down to make it almost like a watercolor or a wash. And I go through and I just start adding that to the Petticoat Pink. And then I go back, I add a little bit more to the Kissing Booth to the tips. And then I add a bit of the Aviary to the Old 57 for the eggs. Then I come back in and I blend in just a little bit of straight on Old 57, and this turned out absolutely gorgeous, you guys. The last thing I do is I seal all of the molds with Big Top from DIY, and I'm gonna let this all dry. After I have it placed just how I want it, I'm using Tite Bond, which is my favorite go-to glue for all molds. And the key here is I try to just put a little bit in the center of each of the molds. I then take my finger and I basically feather it to the edges. You don't want a lot of glue like oozing out. If you were to have any though, I just took my paintbrush and what I did is I just dabbed in and wiped away. So I love how this turned out, you guys. I think it looks absolutely stunning and I cannot wait to play with these molds even more. The last thing I decided to do was go in with both my dark wax and clear. And I always start with clear first. It gives me better control over the colored waxes from DIY. And I'm adding just a little bit of clear and then dabbing a bit of dark. And I want to do that all the way around the edge. Sometimes when you're using white underneath, on the very edge you can see it, and I just wanted to blend a little bit more and then just add a little bit of depth and dimension around the very edge. And after I finish this up, the project is complete, and I think this looks absolutely amazing. For project 3, as I was digging through the bins, I did find this as well, and I thought it had a lot of potential, and I was trying to figure out a way I could upcycle it. So I decided to do something super easy and simple. I am just going to add a piece of decoupage paper to this, and it is honestly going to completely transform it. So I'm using white swan like I always do, because one thing that I love is my paper to pop. Some people like it to blend a little bit more, and I think it really all depends on the project. So I'm just applying one even coat of white swan, letting it dry, and then we're going to come back and we are going to add the decoupage paper. We're using Patina Roses, and this is a new one, you guys, from Royce's last release, her spring release. It's absolutely gorgeous, one of my best sellers, and I'm just going to cut it down because I always try to save every little bit of paper for future projects. I'm using liquid patina, and I'm going to start with that starter strip like I always do. I'm going to mist my paper, smooth it out, and then work my way down once I get it all laid out. And this really gives you better control over your paper. It also alleviates a lot of wrinkles, and by misting it, it activates your fibers in the paper. And look, it goes on as smooth as butter, you guys. The last thing I want to do, I'm taking a little bit of that dark wax from DIY, and there was a couple little scuffs on the edges, and like I talked about earlier, I like blending that white line. So I'm just going to add a bit of dark wax around the edge, add a bit of twine, and this project is complete. I can always come back and add a word or a saying if I want, but I think just sometimes adding a bit of a pop of color to your home decor is all you need. If you haven't done so yet, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, guys. Turn on that bell notification so every Monday when I upload a video, you'll be notified. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think of Royce's papers and the new IOD mold? I can't wait to hear, and we'll see you guys in the next one.